I think he's done it. Him, Eddie Hearn, that sort of outfit have done a really good job in reinventing him and the managing process as well. Because I'm not sure about you, but I remember when Ben first came about, and there was a lot of critique around him, a lot of doubts and whatnot. And I'm not saying that there isn't that now, but he's even him developing as a boxer, because just being a legend's son isn't always enough. You have to, of course, have the ability as well to take it to the next level. And I feel like he's on the right step at least to make a name for himself.
Yeah, I think so. I think he is. I think he is now a star. I think he's one of the zone's or Matchroom's. I think he's one of Matchroom's big stars at the minute. I just think he's very well protected. I do think he's got not a padded record because Chris Algieri is a good fighter, but he's been handed opponents at the right time in his career. That's the
Yeah,
biggest thing. Even Van Herden this weekend, he's not fought really. He had no contest against Jaron Ellis last year. He's not really fought since 2019.
with Ben, he's been very cleverly managed in his way to. You see, there's fights out there like the Avanesian one and whatnot, and I do genuinely believe that when Eddie Hearn does decide to take that risk with him and Ben's management, I think when they decide to take that big risk with Ben, they want it to be as lucrative as possible. What I mean by that
Yeah.
is I don't think they are genuinely scared of fighting Avanesian, but what they are scared of and maybe a bit fearful of is him taking his first L. But when he does take his first L, they want it to be against the right opponent, and that risk to when you mentioned the Danny Garcia. So say if he was to lose to Danny Garcia, they can play the
Mm.
Garcia's world class. Garcia's been there and done it. Conor Benn's younger, can learn and come back. Whereas
Yeah.
sometimes it might even be a bit immature from the promoters. But when you've got someone on these shores, I know Avanesian lives in Russia, but sort of a Frank Warren fighter goes and beats Ben, maybe it hits
Mm.
home a bit harder. Whereas when they do decide to really give him that big challenge, they'd prefer it to, which, to be honest, it makes sense. That does make sense from a business perspective. But I think the annoyance to the fans and the people that follow boxing has been this thing of Conor Benn saying he'll fight anybody, saying this guy, and then we're seeing him not really. But and it, obviously from his perspective, it will be, well, I don't choose who I fight. That's his management and his promoter. But I think that's where some of the frustration lies.
Yeah, definitely. I think also with Ben, he's he's been spoken about as one of the best in the division. So he wants to fight Spence, he wants to fight Crawford, he wants to fight Ugas, but he hasn't even gone through that middle bracket of your Thurmans, your Garcias. He hasn't gone through those caliber of fighters. And for me, he really has cherry picked his fighters. And I think he's a star, and I think he's got ability. He definitely has. But I can't get out of my head that a few fights ago, maybe, well, probably a bit longer actually, but he was getting dropped by that French journeyman. And he's been positioned to non-punchers really. Like Algieri was a great fighter in his peak, but he never had punching power. And Van Herden this weekend, he's not fought. He had one fight versus Jaron Ennis, which is how they're selling it. But it was a one
Yeah.
round no contest. So it's
Again,
kind of like,
is that smart sort of, because they're saying he headlined, no contest. He could have been blitzed in the next round. We don't know,
yeah,
but that's what they're
yeah,
selling it off, and that's what they've done a lot of. Also, we talk about him skipping fringe world level, or not even maybe getting to there and
mm,
maybe trying to skip that. Even you look at domestically, the likes of Echo Esserman, going back to
mm,
Abanesian, even Michael McKinson, them sort of
yeah,
fights there are brilliant fights. But again, from Eddie's perspective, and I watched an interview he did earlier, my sort of understanding is when they want to risk, they want to risk that
mm,
undefeated record and risk Conor Benn's big fight of him losing against someone worthy of putting on maybe a big stadium, filling out an arena.
yeah,
That's what it's sounding like. Because again, Michael McKinson, that's a brilliant fight, but also a very dangerous one. We know McKinson isn't the most sort of marketable or brilliant fighter,
yeah,
by the way. I'm not critiquing him there, but from Eddie's perspective in the zones, they're trying to create a star in Ben, as you alluded to earlier. And
yeah,
part of creating a star is the sort of fights where, well, if you step up and lose, it can still sort of elevate you in a way. So you take that step to Danny Garcia, maybe you
yeah,
headline a show in America, you lose, now it's the comeback story. That's what he'll want to play more so than losing to McKinson in a local domestic clash. It's a bit harder to play that narrative with them sorts of fights.
Yeah, you're right. And even someone like Josh Kelly. Josh Kelly was the guy that Ben was meant to fight. He lost to Avanesian.
He was.
You know, his name's not even being mentioned at the minute because it's that risk to reward ratio. But the one thing about Avanesian, which I think Eddie's doing, and I totally take on board what you're saying about the risk to reward, and it's smart business at the end of the day. But Avanesian's about what 36? Are they waiting for him to go with that peak and then try time him? I think that's probably what they're trying to do, to be honest.
Potentially. And by the way, I still stand by. I know they try and downplay Avanesian, but if they actually announce Benn Avanesian, I know Avanesian isn't a big commercial draw,
Yeah,
but if they announce that fight, that would be a huge fight. That would domestically, that would do great numbers. And of course, I guess
yeah,
Eddie's argument is he's not looking at it domestically. Eddie's looking at it from like, well, what are the Italian audience going to think of it? What are the American
mm,
audience? Because with DAZN being marketed as this global platform, that's really what they're trying to please and trying to. It's a shame, but obviously it's the boxing politics. It's been there for a very long time. It will still always be there. But I think in general, um, Conor Benn's development from when he first debuted and what I think many people thought of him and to where he is now, I think he has done brilliantly in terms of the work
yeah.
he put in as a fighter. I think he still rubs some people up the wrong way, but that's boxing. And I think obviously going to a wrestling reference, you're better to have people have some sort of emotion to you, even if it's a bad one, even if they don't necessarily like you and they dislike you. At least they have some sort of emotion towards you. The person you don't want to be in sports entertainment is the person that nobody cares about. So
Yeah, of
they
course.
might see you, they might watch you, they don't hate you, but they're not too bothered if you do well. They'll just sort of scroll past and yeah, cool. You're better off being that guy that people even TV sit down, they really want to watch you lose because at least if you get a million of them, 500,000 of them, you're putting bums on seats and you're doing right by the networks.
100%. I mean, I don't like Conor Benn. I don't like him. I think he's got good fighting style. I just don't like him as a bloke. But I'm going to watch Saturday. I'll watch the fight because he does have that presence and that aura where you do want to watch him. I want to watch him lose, but you know he has that sort of that pull. So yeah, I think he's definitely business savvy, isn't he? He's a smart enough guy, and he's got his dad around him and Eddie. So yeah, it'll be interesting.
Do you
Be
think there's
interesting.
any chance he loses?
No, I don't think so. I think the way he loses is against the banger. I think he'll probably get a big fight in the summer against Amir Khan or a Garcia, a couple of inactive fighters who aren't at their peak. But I think there's a lot of fighters in that division who are very, very good. But I think he'll be positioned to get a world title shot, maybe against Spence or whoever. And I think it'll be in the UK for big money.